whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone, on this snowy day. Welcome to the Presbyterian Women's Program Series. I am stepping in again this month for Julie McGrath, PW's program chair. Julie is again today working at the General Assembly. We miss her, but our state legislators are lucky to have her expertise and very upbeat, can-do attitude to facilitate their committee meetings. This year, as you know, the program committee has focused on two major themes. Speakers were chosen that we felt were particularly relevant in these times of major change in our lives. Speakers who could address the stress we are experiencing through the pandemic, and those who could help us gain a deeper understanding of racism and how we might begin to heal wounds that are centuries old. I suspect today's speaker spends her time addressing both of these issues through the amazing work that her organization does. This month, Neely Barnhart is once again our chair of the day, and she will introduce our speaker in just a moment. As we have done with previous speakers, we encourage you to ask questions throughout today's discussion by typing them into the chat function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. That or the Q&A function, either one. Neely and I will collect your questions as we proceed and offer Kathy time to respond during her presentation or at the conclusion of her remarks. I am sure you're missing the camaraderie of our fellowship hall luncheons. I know I certainly am. I spoke with Terry White just yesterday and told her just one of the little things I'm missing in this are the beautiful flowers that Terry always had on the table for our luncheons. But Julie and her committee are continuing to do what they can to foster connectedness for PW members. When you received the link to this meeting from me through Realm, you also received in that same email a link, a second link to a post-presentation Zoom meeting. Neely will facilitate that Zoom where you can actually see and hear one another as you chat with friends and discuss a couple of questions that she'll have for you about today's presentation. So when we sign off, take a quick 10-minute break and then rejoin us for a chance to connect. You'll also see the link at the top of the chat stream at the conclusion of this meeting. Once again, the program committee owes a huge thank you to Carolyn Wright and Wilson Kennedy for helping us as our technology guides this season. We would truly be lost without you. Again, thank you for joining us today. And now I'm going to turn things over to Neely.
Good afternoon. Today, Kathy Erhardt, a native Richmonder, is going to speak to us about FeedMore, the only organization in the country that is both a food bank and distributes Meals on Wheels. Kathy is a lifelong Presbyterian. She attended James Madison studying music and the University of Richmond. She attained her MBA. She was a banker for 20 years, then became Director of Development at Union Seminary, where she worked for 5 years. For the past 10 plus years, Kathy has had many roles at FeedMore and is currently the Director of Advocacy and Manager of Planned and Leadership Giving. She performs with the Richmond Symphony Chorus and local theater and loves to read, cook, and travel, including looking forward to a trip to Greece in 2022. Kathy, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Neely, thank you so much. And I am truly blessed to be here with my other Presbyterian women. So happy to be in such good company. First Pres has been a wonderful partner of FeedMore for so many years. And I want to thank the Presbyterian women and the whole entire church for that lovely gift, that special gift that First Pres gave to us this past year, which really helped us during these challenging COVID times. But I want to kick this meeting off today by showing you a short video. It will introduce you to some of our leadership team and some key players in our organization and give you a brief overview of FeedMore. So I'm going to get that started right now.
If FeedMore wasn't here, boy, there'd be a lot more families in trouble, I think.
There'd be more suffering. People would go to bed at night hungry.
They would feel like there's no hope. FeedMore brings that to people.
FeedMore is Central Virginia's core hunger relief organization, and we would define Central Virginia as 29 counties and 5 cities. We go between Williamsburg, Fredericksburg, and Charlottesville, and then all the way down to the North Carolina border.
We're more than just a food bank. We are much bigger.
We have more than 350 partner agencies who partner with us to help us feed Central Virginia. So that comes in many different forms: food pantries, soup kitchens, after school programs for the kids. We do Meals on Wheels, so we do 1,000 meals a day to seniors.
The distribution side is done primarily by 12 trucks that make deliveries to our 270 plus agencies. We also have a shopping area where agencies can come in and shop, and our agencies actually place orders and come here.
I started in 1999 as a volunteer, and I've been here ever since.
What's amazing is we have twice as many volunteers working here today as we have employees.
There's a lot of needs in the community, and FeedMore is a place where I know that my time and my efforts make a difference.
I was a client at one point. No matter who you are, they will serve you and treat you fairly. That's what I like about it.
And if you have the will to be part of FeedMore, they need you.
Do I have a favorite volunteer? Anyone that's willing to give them.
At the end of the day, nobody wakes up saying today is the day I want to be hungry. Anybody can be in that situation, any one of us. We need to help people understand that people don't have to do anything to cause hunger-related problems. It's just a fact of life.
People think FeedMore provides food for the same people all the time. I thought that as well coming in here, but I found out that 60% of our people come in only between 5 and 7 times a year.
Hunger is an equal opportunity challenge. 40% of the folks we serve are white, Caucasian, 40% are African American, Black, and 10% are Hispanic. And folks don't realize so many of our clients, easily 2/3, have income, just not enough.
It's pretty amazing. It is an amazing blend of data and commitment and heart and kindness, all in one place.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. You're taking your business learnings and applying those to the food bank, but not giving up any heart.
I was really struck with how sophisticated the place is, how much it is run like a business, how many people they feed because of that. And that is very motivating. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning.
We do have accountability here, so we hold ourselves responsible for the things that we do and for the donations that we get.
So $1 literally equals 4 meals.
So I'm here making a donation of $100 this morning. My wife and I was just talking this morning about what has occurred in the last year or so, and we kind of felt like we've been blessed, even though I went through the furlough in the early part of the year and had to find another job. And she said, well, we ought to do this, and we did. And that's why I'm here this morning.
The future of the food bank should not just be feeding people, but nourishing them. 2 years ago, we became a wellness pantry through FeedMore, which meant we gave out more produce. And we give out around 20% produce now, which is up from about 5% before, thanks to FeedMore. That's what I feel like our goal is through our children's programs, Meals on Wheels, Community Kitchen, and our food banks to provide the most nutritious food to improve their quality of life, not just feeding calories.
We nourish the community and we empower lives.
We're always thinking about preparing for what comes next. When COVID-19 came along and we were suddenly inundated with the number of people who needed our help, we were already ready for that.
What to do when the volunteers dropped off, what to do when the network, the agencies, some of them had to close, what to do when the food sources dried up. Lots of challenges, but very few failures.
Our attendance has grown, unfortunately. We used to have between 60 and 70 people a week. Now we have about 300 to 325 a week. We used to be a pantry where you would come inside and shop. Now we distribute by car, and then we have guests that don't have cars that can walk up as well. And sure enough, we have had enough food every week. FeedMore has not let us down.
I used to volunteer for FeedMore when I was up and on my feet. When it came to the problem when I lost my job, I thank God I was able to come back to FeedMore for them to help me out, for me to be able to feed my family and be able to stand on my feet again.
What is the role of the food bank in the future? What will our community need? And how do we best serve them? How can we catalyze all these other organizations that are trying to help the same client base? Is there a role for us to bring forth insights and data that will help everyone do their jobs better and collectively have a broader impact than we do today?
If we get a person in and they're hungry, we can automatically dial into a housing agency or job placement agency. I want to see us all be closely tied together. So, because food insecurity is just a small part of every other systemic thing that could be going on with that person.
We want to feed the line, but we also want to shorten it. And we think we really are cutting edge. We want to pass it around to all nonprofits so we can help create this rising tide.
FeedMore is what its name says. Every day we come here to feed more.
I love what I do. It just makes me feel good that I've done something great for the community.
Helping children and elderly people get a nutritious meal as often as possible. It makes you feel good to know you're a part of something bigger.
It's an honor. I have a career where I get to give back and help people. I can definitely relate because I was one of these children. I had to walk with my family to go get the free food during summertime and things of that nature. So it touched me personally. I'm not behind a desk. I'm not a social worker. I'm just a man trying to help.
I would like to thank God for FeedMore because FeedMore has been there for my family, not just my family, for a whole lot of families. And I thank FeedMore just for being there.
All right. So there you got to see some of our senior leadership, some of our key employees, and a whole lot of our folks that are clients, as well as their volunteers and some of our partner agency members. FeedMore, I'll give you a little bit of history. FeedMore actually started off being two different organizations. We were the Central Virginia Food Bank, and we were a Meals on Wheels organization. Both of those organizations were begun by the faith community right here in Richmond. The Meals on Wheels organization's been around for over 50 years. It was started by local synagogues and churches who wanted to feed those folks, those shut-ins who couldn't get out and do shopping or couldn't cook. Later, about 20 years ago, 30 different churches and synagogues got together and said, we want to have food. We have a food pantry, but we need some help. We need one organization that can gather the food and then distribute it to us so that we don't have, all we have are volunteers. We don't have the resources to actually go out and procure the food, store the food, and get it out to the various pantries. So that's when the Central Virginia Food Bank was born 20 years ago. Well, Fast forward to about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, maybe. Both of these organizations wanted to build a kitchen. The Central Virginia Food Bank thought it was really important to have an after-school program where we could prepare fresh-made, healthy meals for at-risk children for after school 5 days a week. The Meals on Wheels organization wanted to be able to make fresh-made, healthy meals for our seniors that were homebound. And both organizations went to the Community Foundation and talked about the kitchens that they wanted to build. And the Community Foundation came back and said, no, we're not going to build 2 kitchens. We're going to build 1 kitchen and both of you can use it. So that's what we did. And we built it at the Road Miller office where you find FeedMore today. We added on a state-of-the-art green LEED certified kitchen. Everything is big. There are no little frying pans or anything like that. Everything is giant. And it's a commercial kitchen, and we cook during regular times about 3,500 meals a day in the kitchen. Because we prepare the Meals on Wheels meals, we also prepare after school meals for the Kids Cafe meals, as well as we do congregate meals for senior centers and for childcare centers and that sort of thing. So we're doing a lot of cooking over there. So that coming together of those 2 organizations to build that kitchen worked so well. And there was a wonderful division of labor, and we were able to do so much more working together that the 2 organizations decided to merge and to become FeedMore. So that's how FeedMore came about. And we've been FeedMore for a little over 12 years now. So we have quite a few different programs. We have our distribution center. We talked about that. That's where we acquire the food, we store the food, and we distribute it out to our over 270 partner agencies. They're mostly churches, some childcare centers, again, some congregate senior centers. And those folks come in and either shop in our distribution center or we deliver food to them. They can go online and decide what they want, and we will pack it up and deliver it to their location. As you heard earlier, we support 34 cities and counties throughout Central Virginia. So those agencies that are farther south are actually now supported by our hub that is in South Hill. That is just opened probably less than a year ago. So we have a warehouse there, and we deliver food, and some of the local organizations near South Hill actually come into the distribution center there. We also have a distribution center on the Northern Neck, and they serve all of those counties that are up there on the Northern Neck. Excuse me. We also, I said we had the Meals on Wheels. Now, what I love about Meals on Wheels, we're feeding about 100 people a day. 1,000 people a day. Some up to 2 meals a day. We also, if our Meals on Wheels client has a pet, and so many of those Meals on Wheels clients are, they're secluded. We understand that now, after having gone through COVID, what it's like being at home alone, and having a pet is a real lifeline. But they can't go out and get food for those pets either. So we actually acquire pet food, and we will distribute pet supplies to our Meals on Wheels clients. We also can provide microwaves if those folks don't have a microwave to heat up their meals, fans in the summer, and we frequently arrange for visiting nurses to come out and give flu shots and that sort of thing to our Meals on Wheels clients. Now, this was all pre-COVID. And we're hoping to get back to that soon. We're now only delivering meals once a week, and all those meals are frozen. So having those, having the microwaves is really important. But as again, I said, we're doing 1,000, we're supporting 1,000 seniors every day. Now, during regular times, we have our Kids Cafe, which is, as I said earlier, an after-school program for at-risk children, and excuse me, where we serve a hot meal after school at a center. It could be a Y, it could be a Boys and Girls Club. Sometimes they're at churches, sometimes they're at the schools themselves. And we deliver those meals hot to this after-school program 5 days a week. In addition to that, we have our backpack program. Now, the backpack program is where we deliver shelf-stable food in bags to children that would otherwise not get food over the weekend. And we do, during a regular school year, 2,000 of those a week. And we work with communities and schools to identify the children that are in most need. And we deliver those backpacks every week to the school, and the schools distribute those for us. In addition to that, we have areas where the need is high, but we don't have a partner agency to distribute food. So we actually have a mobile pantry that goes to that area and will distribute 40 to 45 pounds of food to a family off of the mobile pantry. Now, I like to say the mobile pantry is a converted beer truck, because that's what it is. The sides roll up, we put out the awning, we put out the tables and have the food sitting out there, and we distribute it to those families. We do about 20 of those every month during regular times. We also have what we call a school pantry. So some of our more rural areas, it's been very difficult to get enough food out to those folks. So what we are doing, it's like a mobile pantry, except we go set up at the schools. And so families can come to the school, and actually we distribute 45 to 50 pounds of food to those families. And we do all sorts of special distributions around the holidays, before Thanksgiving, before Christmas, with holiday food, so that these families can also have holiday meals. Many of those pantries have been supported by the Christmas Mother. So they raise money and they donate money for us to do those special distributions every year. And I'll tell you, it's a great thing to be able to go to one of those distributions at the holidays and be able to give somebody a box of food. You know, it might be a turkey or a big roaster and cranberry sauce and stuffing mix and greens and all the fixings for a holiday meal. And to see the family that otherwise wouldn't have a holiday meal, it just makes your heart grow 3 sizes bigger, just like the Grinch. So it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Kathy, somebody submitted a question that goes in with all these wonderful services y'all provide. They said, when you receive a cash or check, a monetary donation, how do you determine where it will be spent? Is it all on food supply, or are there other things like kitchen equipment, or applied where most needed?
It's applied where most needed. We are very fortunate. If we need like kitchen equipment, that kind of thing, we've got we're part of Feeding America. We're also a part of Meals on Wheels of America. And they have grant programs. So usually when we need big equipment or that kind of thing, we can get a grant for that. And so we get for that specific purpose. There's some foundations who want to give to something like that. So we can ask those folks for those specific type of equipment and that kind of thing. Of course, we buy a lot of food. We budget, we have a very elaborate budgeting process to make sure that, we know what our goals are for distributions and how much money we think we need in order to buy the food. We're very fortunate that we get a lot of food is donated. So we're very fortunate. All of the grocery stores donate to us. The local food producers donate to us. Purdue is a huge donor, and they donate a lot of chicken to us. So we always have chicken, which is great.
That is great.
Protein is good. Protein is good. But one of the challenges has been this year with COVID is that the distribution network in order to get food got very disrupted. That's why we didn't have food in the grocery stores. And so because we didn't have all that food in the grocery stores didn't donate all that almost out of date food that they typically give to us, and then we can distribute. So a lot of our donated food during COVID got cut significantly. So we had to buy even more if we could get it. That was another issue. If you'll remember, a year ago, you couldn't get dried beans, or there were lots and lots of grocery products that you just couldn't get. Not just the toilet paper, but the food products. So that really made things tough for us. Fortunately, we've got a great inventory process, and we do get some USDA food, and we had that at the ready, so we could distribute it during this time. So we're doing all right now. Some of our other sister food banks across Virginia have struggled. So to get additional food, and they've had to cut off some of their programs because they just didn't have the food to distribute. I'm seeing a bunch of things in the chat. Is there something else?
Right. Someone said, did you say the 3,000 daily distribution was for the Richmond metropolitan area or for your whole area that y'all cover, the 34 cities and counties?
The fresh made meals are for 11 cities and counties around Richmond.
Okay, so it's a greater metropolitan area.
Greater metropolitan, yeah, because you can't deliver that fresh food. We've got things are just as strict for us as they are for restaurants.
Right.
We get regularly folks come in, and the health department comes in and does inspections. But the great thing is that we've got a great kitchen staff, and the health department frequently will bring in their new hires to show them what a good kitchen looks like, a good clean kitchen looks like. So we're very proud of that also.
Right, that's great. Someone has asked the question that addresses to me, especially this idea that y'all are you do more than just cover food issues, that you're assisting families in so many other ways. Somebody asked the question, can you please share the root causes of hunger and how you all are addressing these needs?
Great question. The root causes of hunger, there's employment, there's housing, it's Actually, hunger is one of those issues regarding poverty. And we see it every day. And so that's why we want to be a hub. And we work very closely with other nonprofits and with the government so that we can refer people to the proper agencies to help get them the services that they need. I think we have a hunger hotline. So people call in because they want food, but frequently we'll find out they also there's a housing issue. There's an employment issue. There's a childcare issue. And so we have those numbers and we can help get them in touch with the right people, the right organization. They might not even know that there's someone that can help them with all of that. And so we try to be able to work with all of those organizations to help the client because it's so much more than just the food. I know we're really blessed because we have got specifically for Meals on Wheels, but they're very helpful for the rest of us too. We've got social workers that are on staff because whenever someone comes on to Meals on Wheels for the first time, there's a home visit by the social worker so that they can see what the situation is. And frequently we get, excuse me, they may have issues with needing help with their rent, their heating bills, utility bills. There may be other issues, safety issues that need to be addressed. And so that social worker can address all those things and try to get them the right kind of help that they might need. And we regularly, that's the great thing about Meals on Wheels when it runs in the normal way, when there is a volunteer that's going by their home 5 days a week and checking on them. That safety check has been critical, and it worries me to some extent during COVID because we're only going once a week as volunteers, and I hate to think that somebody may have fallen and be lying there for a number of days before someone else gets to them. So that was one of the things. Thank you. I wish you could bring me some hot tea too. That's one of the things we struggle with during the times of COVID, but one of the great things about FeedMore and about the Meals on Wheels program during normal times.
So someone pointed out that, as in the video shows, that currently a lot of your employees said that they've benefited from your generosity in the past. Is that one of the priorities at FeedMore when you have positions available, that you're able to tap into your client pool and employ some of your recipients?
It certainly happens sometimes. If someone, all of our positions are listed on our website. And many of the people that we get a lot of folks who become employees after they've been volunteers. So there are a lot of clients that once they get back on their feet, they'll come and volunteer. And then they know when there are jobs available. People know how they work. They know, their character because they've been working there, they've been volunteering there. And so it gives us that opportunity to be able to hire them. We get a lot of people come from volunteers and they say, I want to be a part of what you're doing. So
that's great.
It's wonderful. It really is wonderful.
That's right.
So those are our basic programs. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what happened with COVID. So, I told you it's it's important to us that we have that we work with these other organizations and the government to coordinate efforts, because we really have to do that. Neely and I talked a little bit this morning about these one-offs. People have got a great heart and have a nonprofit to do one specific thing. But if we all coordinate, we can get so much more done. And that's what we really work to do. So we're fortunate enough, some of our CEO is on a board at VCU Health Systems. And back at the beginning of last year, there was a meeting, and we got the shocking news that this COVID pandemic was on its way, and that it could be potentially 9 million cases in Virginia. I mean, in the United States, and, could be 500,000 deaths, which is exactly where we're almost there right now. And, we talked about what could happen because of that. So we reached out to Feeding America, and our leadership team got together and started talking about how do we operate in that kind of environment. It was critical. So we went into scenario planning and mitigation strategies involving, we talked with our staff and our volunteers, our agencies, because we've got 270 agencies, our food sourcing folks, and revenue streams. It was, what if the money stops coming in and we can't buy any more food? Then what do we do? There were lots of things to consider. But we made a number of choices in order to help get us over this pandemic. One of the strategies was we took the kitchen and we split it into two different groups that operated independently. We split all the employees. Nobody could cross over, so that if some of our folks in one part of the kitchen got sick and had to be out for 2 weeks, the whole kitchen had to be down for 2 weeks. We had others in the other side of the kitchen so that they could work, because we've got these seniors who are absolutely depending on us to get their food. So we needed to cook. The schools closed down, but we were still doing backpacks. We distributed them to schools, and schools were taking them some on buses, some were coming by the school. The different counties were doing different distribution scenarios, and some of those schools were still in place. So we still were doing some after school meals for the kids' cafe. So again, we have that kitchen just cranking away. There were a number of Meals on Wheels that were not part of our group that were basically shut down. And so then we were able to provide additional meals. We made additional meals and froze them, and we're able to distribute them to those other Meals on Wheels organizations so those seniors could get their food. When everything closed down, we lost all of our corporate volunteers because the corporations did not feel comfortable sending their employees to FeedMore. So fortunately, we got other people volunteered, and we were very careful about social distancing and taking people's temperatures and that sort of thing. And we have a great core group of folks that continue to volunteer. So we've been able to do the kitchen work, and then we've been able to have enough people to deliver Meals on Wheels, because we have 96 routes, Meals on Wheels routes that we do now once a week, but we need 96 drivers to deliver those meals once a week. So we've been able to do that with a much smaller volunteer group. 27 of our, we call them disaster relief agencies. These were some of our larger agencies that we knew we could beef up the amount of food that was going to them, and they could do major big distributions. Like the Chesterfield Food Bank is one of our food banks. And so we were able to push additional product out to them. Goochland Cares is another one of our big agencies. And so we were able to push a lot more food to them. And they were able to, I know you've seen the pictures on the news of all the cars lined up. So they were able to take that food, they box it up and can distribute it using those cars, distribute to the cars. And as you've heard, some of those have, you know, tripled or quadrupled the number of clients that they're serving. Usually those larger ones are serving at least once a week. So we were able to get enough food there. We had issues with not getting, as I said earlier, not getting enough food, not being able to get the food. So we had 60-day wait, some things that we had ordered. And so we scrambled a lot, but the community really was wonderful and helped us a great deal and did some extra food drives and helped us get additional food. But folks got scared. Folks are still scared, but folks got scared when we first closed everything down during the pandemic. And people were hoarding food. People were buying 5 times, anywhere from 3 to 5 times more food, particularly shelf-stable food. And we're hoarding it. And then we couldn't get food to distribute to those folks that had been laid off and had no cash to buy food, and also we were having a struggle trying to get the food. But fortunately, we bartered, because we always have a lot of chicken. We bartered chicken for some shelf-stable food. And we were able to get what we needed so far. So far, so good. We have seen, as of the end of December, we've distributed about 40, month over month, we distributed about 40% more food than we did the year before. Excuse me, we're anticipating, because the additional subsidies from the government have run out as far as unemployment and that kind of thing. And we're still trying to figure out if there's going to be, or how much the additional aid package is. We are thinking there's going to be another 20% increase in the need this month, or in January and February. I haven't gotten the final numbers on all that yet, but we definitely seen an uptick in that. So got a lot.
Kathy, let me ask you, in regards to this, someone has asked the question, what are your greatest needs now that the general public can help with? Are they primarily financial or service related?
Both. One of the big things, financial, we're able to do better about getting food now, because that's kind of calmed down. So we can buy the food that we need. We're not getting the donated food that we had gotten before as much from the food producers. So we have to buy more food. So the financial support is really critical. Also, food drives are great. They really help us. We can actually probably do more with the money, but because typically we can provide 4 meals for every $1 that's given with the donated food. Wow. So that helps us a great deal. But it's always helpful to have canned goods and that sort of thing. The other thing that we really could use help with is anybody that feels comfortable doing it, volunteering to work in the kitchen or to deliver Meals on Wheels. As I said, many of our volunteers are retired and have not felt comfortable going out and delivering Meals on Wheels. And so we've lost a lot of our volunteers. And so if there are folks that are interested and feel comfortable doing that, everybody has to wear a mask. In the kitchen, you wear gloves and hair nets. Oh, an added plus, hair nets. It's such
Everybody loves a good hairnet.
It's such a good look. And we're very careful because everyone's health and safety is paramount. So for us, so we're doing that. So anybody that can help us out with that, that's a huge help. So we've identified that we had gone, I guess when I first started with the food bank, the stats from Feeding America said that in the FeedMore footprint, the 34 cities and counties, there were over 200,000 food insecure people. We were really going the right way. You know, Doug said in the video, he wanted to shorten the line. Well, I think we had been doing a really good job of that. And we were down to about 150,000, food insecure folks in our Central Virginia footprint. But Feeding America has estimated that with the COVID pandemic and all the layoffs, that we've gone back up over 200,000, probably 212,000 people in Central Virginia are food insecure. And you know, it's hard. Food insecurity is a hard thing to see. People hide it. They don't want to tell you they're hungry. I know years ago, I was shocked. I lived over near Tuckahoe Elementary School, which is it's a lovely neighborhood. You would never think that there would be any children that needed food in that neighborhood. But there were 6 kids in Tuckahoe Elementary who were getting backpacks because they didn't have food over the weekend. So it's a silent predator, and people don't want to be in that line. You know, we talked about in the video about how there's so many folks. We thought many folks believe it's the same people that come all the time, or people are trying to game the system, that kind of thing. And that's not it. These people do not want to be dependent on someone else. It's a traumatic thing to have to go to a food bank because you can't feed your family. And so we try to make it just as welcoming as possible, and as, you know, not as traumatic as folks might think. So we're really trying very hard to make that experience something to let people have dignity as they're working to try to get back on their feet. So I wanted to end my remarks with just one story. And I love this story, and it's about a child that was in the Richmond Public Schools, and his name was Sam. And Sam was in 2nd grade, and Sam was really disruptive. He spoke out in class, and he got in fights, and Sam did not do well in his classes. And Sam just never smiled. And his teacher recognized that Sam was, when he'd come to school on Monday morning, he'd run into the cafeteria for his free breakfast, and he'd gorge himself. And then on Friday at lunch, again, he would gorge himself because Sam wasn't getting enough food on the weekend. So his teacher talked to the principal, and they made arrangements. And so the principal called Sam up to her office, and Sam was all steeled. He knew he was going to get yelled at because he'd been to the principal's office a time or two. And he came into the office, and his principal said, Sam, have a seat. And he's looking down at his shoes. And she said, Sam, I've got a surprise for you. And she held up one of the backpacks. And she said, I'm going to give you this backpack today, and you can take it home so that you will have food for the weekend. Well, Sam broke out in a huge smile.
Mm.
And then she said, and this is the best part, you're going to get one of these bags every Friday for the rest of the school year. Well, Sam started jumping up and down over a bag of food. Well, I'll tell you what really was the best part is that Sam started getting his food, and Sam was not getting in fights. Sam was not disruptive in his class. He was paying attention. His grades got better, and Sam was smiling, all because somebody cared enough to make sure that he got the food that he needed. And it's because of folks like you, like First Pres, who have donated a significant amount of money to feed all these kids like Sam. And it does make a difference to a lot of kids and a lot of families and a lot of seniors. And I just am so grateful. We are so grateful to have your support. Please come and take a tour once it's safe. See what we do, see how we do it. And thank you again for all that you do.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. I'm impressed you can tell that story without crying. I would be a puddle. What a great story.
Yeah, well, I do get goosebumps every time I tell it.
That is just so great. And we all recognize that it's those stories that are able to happen because of the organization, because of FeedMore and the work that y'all do. And we're eternally grateful for that. I did have a couple of other, let me see here. Someone asked the question, how do you assess degree of need and who is actually desperate at a given point in time?
Depends on the program. So with Meals on Wheels, they apply. And anybody that, some folks get Meals on Wheels and are perfectly capable of paying, and they do. You pay on a sliding scale. Over 80% of our Meals on Wheels clients get some kind of subsidy. But some folks are, I'm single, I've got family here in town, but if I'd just gotten out of the hospital and needed some help and needed some meals, I could get Meals on Wheels for a short period of time. And if I did that, then I would pay for them. Others get subsidized. So based on your income. If you go to a food pantry, just by the fact that you showed up and came to the food pantry, you will get food. The children in the after-school programs and for the backpack program, they are identified by the school systems, and because they have all that information and are able to identify the children that are most in need.
I have another question. Well, they had a statement and then a question. You all are doing such wonderful work. Thank you. And then the question is, how will the lessons learned and the leaner staff during COVID adjust how you operate in the future?
That's another great question. Yeah, we've learned a lot. We weren't big on working remotely prior to COVID, but those of us that are in development, a significant amount of us have been working remotely. Some folks have to be on site, but as you can tell, I've got asthma. so I've got an underlying comorbidity. And so I have very rarely actually go in the office right now. Others have. So we've worked that out. I think we still work with a pretty lean staff. We do all of this with less than 100 employees. And last year we distributed 32 million pounds of food. And that should be significantly more than that. And we have usually about 200 volunteers a day helping us. So the staff is pretty lean already. I don't think we get much leaner on the staff side. How we work I think will be different. I think it's catapulted us, 10 years down the line from the way we probably worked. So we're right now actually expanding the kitchen a bit because we need some more room and we need some more storage. And I'm thinking that because some of us have been working remotely, some of that what was typically office space will now be space for operations and that sort of thing, and that there'll be fewer people. We'll take turns probably in and out. I told them I'd be happy to mostly work remotely and then come in and stay in a conference room when I had to be on campus. So I think it's really will change and has changed how we do business.
Well, I think that my mantra that I keep saying is that God's hit the reset button on all of us, and that everything going forward is going to be new and different. And hopefully we're all paying attention to see what God is calling us to do and how we are to change our ways so that we can better do what we're supposed to do, but also obviously to serve God. And so I agree with you completely. It's a learning time right now.
It really is. But it's been great. I mean, we really have, this challenge has been really good for us. It's helped us learn a lot about how we're doing distributions and how to be more efficient. We were pretty daggone efficient, but we've learned to be very, even more efficient. And stay in our lane. Sometimes because we want to do everything, sometimes we'll move out of our lane a little bit, but where we are most effective and efficient is staying in our lane. And we're a big distribution organization. And so, using the data and figuring out, those best practices it's been really helpful for us. And as it's a new challenge, we're getting ready to start budgeting actually this week and for next fiscal year. And it's been good because we're saying, well, maybe we don't need to do these things, but we need to put more resources into these things. So it's been good.
Right. Well, I think, was there something else? Do you want to say something else?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So I don't have any more questions, and I think our time is our time is about up. Thank you again so much for being here today and sharing with us and enlightening us as to what's going on. Y'all, we're all well aware of FeedMore. I didn't realize y'all were such an all-inclusive agency, and that's always exciting to know. And the numbers that y'all are representing as far as distribution and the number of clients you're serving is quite impressive. So thank you for the work that you do and the work that FeedMore does.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah. Okay. Blair?
Kathy, I would just echo Neely's thank you. I know that pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, but I don't think any of us could listen to the incredible statistics that you shared and the stories of just the transformative work that FeedMore is doing with anything but pride that this is an organization that's really setting the standard for the rest of the country, and everybody should take notice, because what you're doing is truly remarkable. We are, I know I speak for all of PW when I say we're excited to know that we're one of your partners, and certainly hope to be able to offer our continued support in the months and years to come.
Thank you.
I'd like to, before I close this with prayer, I'd like to mention a special opportunity to everyone who's listening. If you're like I am, you know that there are some new faces on the FPC staff, and it probably feels challenging during this pandemic to keep all the players straight, especially not being able to see their faces. Molly Smirko is one of those new faces. She's our pastoral intern this year, and Molly has a very special opportunity for us as we approach the season of Lent. Here's what she would like for you to know. Please join pastoral intern Molly Smirko on Wednesdays from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock for a Lenten study on lament. Why lament? Before there can be resurrection, there is wilderness. We will explore the Psalms of lament, including writing our own, the story of Jesus' 40 days in the wilderness, and how God meets us in times of wandering and uncertainty. The study will start on February 24th and will meet 4 times. Now, I ask you, what could be more timely and a better fit with our PW Horizon study on lament than Molly's Lenten group? So I hope many of you will decide to join me and give this a try. Now, this big announcement that I am so excited to make. Next month on March 2nd, you are invited to one of PW's longest running and most special programs, Sister Stories. You know that we keep the identity of our speakers under wraps until this February program, but I'm not going to keep you guessing any longer. 2 true pillars of both the FPC congregation and the Richmond community, Barbara Glenn and Martha Rollins, will be our featured Sister Stories speakers. And I, for one, cannot wait. Now, if you will please join me, I'd like to close us with prayer. Father God, we thank you for this time we have shared together today. We draw strength from one another and grow in our relationship with you. Our hearts are full hearing of the good works being done in our community, especially knowing that we have played a small part in that. Help us to continue our generous giving to those in need. Father, you have richly blessed each person here, and we truly are grateful. But sometimes it's difficult to count these blessings when we feel surrounded by chaos and despair. When the worries of the day make our hearts heavy and clutter our mind, help us to remember that before a flower can show its beauty to the sun, it is first a seed buried in the dirt. Teach us to rise above negative things that pull us to the wrong path, and instead to cast our eyes and our hearts on the positives in life that are truly always there, just like the seedling growing toward the moment when it will appear above the ground, face to the sun. We ask that you hold each member of our group safely in the palm of your hand until we meet again, especially cradling and comforting those who have health concerns or are grieving the loss of a loved one. And may the work we do and the way we live our lives always reflect your love and grace. In Christ's name, amen.
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 Thank you.
And click on that Zoom in about 10 minutes and join us, and we can chat about all that Kathy has shared with us and catch up on how everybody's surviving the snow. See you in a few minutes.
Oh, can I get in on the sister stories? I love Martha Rollins.
Absolutely, you may. I will send you the particulars.
Thank you. Thank you so much.